The Algarve is the south coast of Portugal and the capital of the Algarve is Faro. Faro is also the airport of the Algarve through which the many Algarve tourists arrive. As soon as you approach, you have a wonderful view of the Parque Natural da Ria Formosa, a 60 kilometers long lagoon landscape with beach islands facing the Atlantic. Faro itself has a beautiful old town, a cozy pedestrian zone and many sights. After our landing and moving into our accommodation in the center of Faro, we first looked at the port of Faro. The sun is reflected in the transparent harbor water and the fishermen sought their catch of the day. In the Algarve, it's rather the norm that the sun shines. We walk around the harbor and on the other side we enjoy a milk coffee which is called galão, a freshly squeezed orange juice which is called sumo de laranja, and a tostamissa, a pressed toast with cheese and ham, and enjoy the hustle and bustle at the port. The difference between low and high tide is 3.5 meters in Faro. Accordingly, the sculpture on the harbor step is in the water at high tide and in the dry at low tide. We continue via the event space in front of the harbor through the Arco da Vila, the old town gate, which is a landmark of Faro including the storks nesting on it. Around the old town there are several historical town gates that lead into the beautiful old town. The City Museum of Faro, a historic convent, has a beautiful courtyard and many different exhibition rooms, and the ticket price is hardly worth mentioning. Another side of the old town is the Cathedral of Faro, the Igreja de Santa Maria. You can visit the cathedral from the inside, but the main attraction is climbing the tower for a beautiful view of the city of Faro, the Parque Natural da Ria Formosa, and the takeoffs and landings from the nearby airport.
Thank you very much.
Take a look at the backyard of the cathedral. There you will find a niche decorated with human bones and skulls. I will come back to the fact that human bones are not uncommon as decoration in Faro's churches. The square in front of the cathedral is lined with orange trees and there are many orange plantations in the region. However, the oranges from the trees lining the streets and squares are very bitter and not fit for consumption, except perhaps for bitter British orange marmalade. On the other hand, the oranges on the markets are very cheap, sweet and tasty, and you can get fresh orange juice everywhere. Also on the square in front of the cathedral is the Paço Episcopal de Faro, a historical building decorated inside with the famous azulejos, the bluish wall tiles. Azulejos are a symbol for Portugal and decorate churches, historic buildings, gardens, villas and train stations all over the country. We leave the old town and look at the pedestrian zone of Faro, full of small shops and restaurants, and we get caught up in a demonstration that is obviously peaceful, which is typical of the Portuguese mentality. Through the old part of Faro with many opportunities for snapshots, We continue to the Igreja da Ordem Terceira de Nossa Senhora do Monte do Carmo, which is richly decorated inside, but whose main attraction is the Capela dos Ossos de Faro in the backyard. You feel a bit worried in the historical chapel, which is completely decorated with human bones and skulls. Another attraction of Faro is the park Jardim da Almeida João de Deus, located above behind the old town. Peacocks are a popular attraction in this peaceful park, and there are plenty of them once you start looking. For our first trip to the Ria Formosa the next morning, we decided to take the easy and inexpensive ferry ride over to the beach island of Praia de Faro. From the Cais das Portas do Mar, not far behind the harbor, below the city walls of the old town, the ferry trip starts and goes across the Parque Natural da Ria Formosa in direction to the beach island of Praia de Faro. Many species of birds can be observed in the lagoon landscape, where the local shellfish collectors are busy. The lagoon landscape fills and sinks with the tide, which makes a maximum difference of 3.5 meters. You can explore the Ria Formosa by excursion boats, ferries, on foot or by bike. This offshore island is full of small holiday homes and has beaches on both sides, towards the open sea, where the most visitors go to, but also towards the lagoon side. The island is connected to the mainland by a narrow bridge. At the end, the bridge is narrow and one lane, and a traffic light regulates the entry and exit intervals. We are here in the spring off-season, but we can well imagine the chaos in the high season, when everyone is trying to reach the beach islands by car, motorcycle or by ferry. We enjoy the tranquility of the low season and walk across the island, and again we enjoy a tostamista, milk coffee and a fresh orange juice. We take the ferry back through the Ria Formosa towards Faro, where we look forward to dinner in one of the many restaurants. We love Portuguese food and we ate a lot but didn't regret a calorie. At least not when we sat in the many beautiful cafes and restaurants where you are always inspired to try new, unknown culinary attractions. For the next day, we decided for a bike tour. Our nice local landlady recommended us a bike path behind the airport. The bike path was not visible on Google Maps, but we love to explore destinations by bike. Directly at the harbor, a pedestrian crossing leads over the railway tracks, and parallel to the railway line, we cycle west along the Ria Formosa. At the next street crossing of the railway line, we turn left towards the airport.
Yeah.
In front of the airport, turn left along the protective fence around the entire airport. The planes taking off and landing do not disturb but are a destination for many hikers and cyclists who, like us, try more or less successfully to photograph themselves with an airplane in the background. At the western end of the airport area, the dirt road turns into a paved road with a bike path. Before the narrow bridge to the island of Praia de Faro, we turn right to reach the natural trail through the Ria Formosa. The natural trail is wide and well developed and open to cyclists. It goes straight ahead through the Ria Formosa along the swamp landscape, which is more or less filled with seawater depending on the tide. Birdlife can be seen to the left and right, which seems to have become accustomed to the walkers, cyclists and planes. The trail is beautiful and we keep stopping to observe the interesting nature. The trail was not yet visible on Google Maps. It's a good idea that the surrounding communities have invested in this adventure trail. It's a great enrichment for tourism to have this excursion option. We love bike tours and are therefore very happy because we didn't expect such beautiful bike tours in Faro. After the unpaved trail, the route continues over a boardwalk along a golf club. Here we turn and cycle back because we are hungry and thirsty. We cycle back to the island of Praia de Faro, which we had already visited with the ferry. The cycle path goes further behind the golf course, but we had already decided to repeat the tour to visit the area behind the golf club. I cut the video of the longer bike tour separately and I will add it to the Faro playlist, which will be shown at the end of this video. We cycle over the narrow connection road to Praia de Faro, where the gastronomy awaits at the end of the bridge. As so often on this trip, we strengthen ourselves with a tostamista and a freshly squeezed orange juice. And then we cycled back around the airport towards Faro. In the end, we had cycled 32 kilometers and it was great fun. We look forward to the next bike excursion. For the next day, we decided to take a train trip towards the Spanish border, the easternmost point of the Algarve. Faro train station is an easy walk from the center, and the lady at the counter was helpful, and the ticket to Villarreal de Santo Antonio at the Guadiana border river is cheap. It starts on time through the green landscape of the Algarve in spring. After Faro, we first go along the Ria Formosa in the direction of Tavira. Tavira looks very beautiful from the train. We'll keep that in mind for our next trip to the Algarve. We continue east through the orange and avocado plantations. At first we didn't know what kind of trees they are. The conductor explained to us that they are avocado trees. And then we are at the train station of Villarreal de Santo Antonio, from which it is almost 2 kilometers to the center. We walk parallel to the Guadiana River to the upper end of the pedestrian zone to stroll through it to the city's main square, the Praça Marquês de Pombal. We like Villarreal de Santo Antonio. It's at least on this day a beautiful and quiet place with a large main square and a promenade that invites you to walk along. On the river promenade we see a sign pointing to the ferry trip to Spain. We briefly check the ferry and train schedules and decide to cross over to Spanish soil, which turns out to be a lucky timing. And off we go in bright sunshine over the river Guadiana to the town Ayamonte in Spain. The central building, when looking back towards Villarreal de Santo Antonio, is the historic building of the Grande Hotel Guadiana, which is now called the Grand House. After a short crossing, we step onto Spanish soil and head towards the pedestrian zone. Something is in the air. In contrast to us, the people here are well dressed and they all seem to be in a party mood. After questioning a local, the secret is relieved. We got into the opening celebrations of the Semana Santa, the Spanish Easter. The procession is about to start and everyone is looking for a good place to witness it. At the corner of the main square we see the start of the procession. Red hooded heads are in the starting lineup. We go a little further and experience exactly the moment when the procession passes in front of the notables of the city. The mood is joyful and excited and the procession moves towards the church. After the procession, the people spread over the surrounding gastronomy. We use the remaining time to walk a bit through the beautiful city and along the promenade, which is almost deserted at this time. The ferry arrives on time and we head back towards Portugal. How fortunate we timed the celebration on the Spanish side. I felt a bit underdressed in my tourist outfit, but we enjoyed the moment. We still have time before the train leaves and we have a look around Villarreal de Santo Antonio. The departure is on time and off we go back to Faro. We had a wonderful day and got to know the Algarve a little bit better. For the next day we decided to go on a professional boat excursion into the lagoon landscape of the Parque Natural da Ria Formosa with stops on the islands Ilha Deserta and the Ilha do Farol.
This is not fresh water. This is all salty water.
After a brief introduction, we cast off and cruised past the city walls of Faro's old town. Our guide explains to us the effect of the ebb and flow in these waters and which animal species there are. Further on we jet out to the open sea between the Ilha Deserta and the Ilha do Farol. On this day the waves are low enough. The current of the tide which pushes through the narrowness between the two islands is unbelievably strong. Unfortunately we didn't see dolphins, which you can also see here from time to time, but it was still a nice and interesting trip out to the open sea.
There's a beautiful coastline that looks like a pool. Just be careful when you enter in the water, okay?
Our first stop is a small beach bay of Ilha Deserta. We march off and explore the barren island. It's nice to walk barefoot through the warm sand and look out for mussels and snail shells. As we walk along the mole in direction to the seaside, we discover lots of large fish that are probably filtering food from the water flowing in with the tide. Instead of using a fish rod, I catch the fish with my camera. Beautiful is the view on the fish in the sparkling water. A lady from Brazil draws our attention to an octopus on the other side. Curiously, the octopus fingers a shell that has been thrown into the water. The island, so barren at first glance, is surrounded by an interesting animal nature. We continue walking past the only restaurant to the beach on the seaside and are surprised about how many shells there are in the sand. We choose some shells for the home decoration and we go back via the pier with the many fish to our excursion boat. The next stop is the Ilha do Farol, the island of the lighthouse. We take a short walk across the island and visit a restaurant. I'm trying rayfish that I've seen in the markets. I've never tried rayfish before. Raia alhoado is the name of the dish and promises ray in garlic, which tasted delicious. After the visit to the Ilha do Farol, we head back to Faro, and again we had experienced a wonderful day in the Algarve. Excited about the last train excursion, we decided the next day to take the train to the nearby town of Olhão. Olhão is east of Faro and, like Faro, behind the Ria Formosa. After a few minutes we reached the train station of Olhão, which is located above the city. From here we explore the city down to the banks of the Ria Formosa. Olhão also has the typical flair of Portuguese places. Black and white paved paths lead towards the pedestrian zone. The small streets with colorful shops lead to the famous market halls of Olhão on the banks of the Ria Formosa. Two distinctive red market halls separate the fish market from the meat, fruit and vegetable market. We start in the fish hall and explore the offer. Here is the ray that I had eaten yesterday, and here the mussels are sold, which the many hard-working mussel collectors fish out of the mud of the Ria Formosa at low tide. Fruit, vegetables and meat are offered in the neighbor hall. The hall echoes with the pounding of dividing pieces of meat. After the market halls, we again enjoy tosta mista, café con leite and freshly squeezed orange juice. Before we take a look at the harbor to the historic boat called Bom Sucesso, with which the Portuguese sailed to Brazil a long time ago to bring good news to the king. We walk east along the promenade to at least have a look at the leaving point of the ferries to the islands of Olhão, although we want to save this ferry ride for the next visit to the Algarve. Today only Olhão is on the program. Obviously the ferries are well accepted and the private providers try to advertise their boat tours too. Past the market halls we explore the western promenade along a marina to the western end. I forgot to find out what these two gentlemen are watching out at sea. Anyhow, the view of the Ria Formosa is beautiful. We stroll through the streets of the city and enjoy the beautiful ambience, which I have captured for you with snapshots. Back in Faro we get in the end of the marathon event. At the award ceremony, the shell and the horn are blown. I have often traveled to Portugal, including the beautiful islands of Madeira and the Azores, and I did not have Faro on my radar. We were surprised how beautiful this place in Portugal is and enjoyed our vacation. In my playlist about traveling in Portugal on my YouTube channel, you will find more information about the most beautiful places in Portugal, and there will certainly be more to come. At the time we felt home in the Algarve, the moment comes to say goodbye to this wonderful holiday destination. The evening before departure, we enjoy the sunset over the Ria Formosa. Faro has an interesting old town, is situated at a natural park with beautiful Atlantic beaches, the people are friendly, the food is delicious, the sun often shines, and Faro is in a good location for exploring the surrounding area and the entire Algarve. In other words, everything that makes for a bright and relaxing holiday. We will come back for sure.